Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. People attract who they are. Yeah. Back up in this Billy, man. Back up in here, man. Hey, yeah, this one is for Isaiah Park. That's one of my most faithful supporters. I mean, this brother supported me across all my platforms. So, he asked for something, I got to hook him up, right? But he wanted me to talk about that because that's a common saying that people attract who they are. And I'm going to break down why that's the case, right? I'm going to break it down. One thing, 99% of the population this is true for. 99%. The only exceptions, because there's a lot of women who have heard this. I've even heard some women commenters on here try to, detract from that statement. Is true for 99% of the population. The 1% it's not true for is someone who's extremely attractive. I'm talking about like those men and women like so physically attractive that their faces go viral and something like that. They really attract everybody. And even then, which I'll get into in a minute, it's still, when you talk about a relationship, it still come down to some inner values, right? But here's what is really meant. And it's not, a lot of people use it, in a metaphysical sense. They'll say the law of attraction and all of that. And that's true for the metaphysic heads out there. Yeah, that's true. But thing is, any true metaphysics, you can break down to a normal science. If people break it down, it's a science. It's not, even some official sources recognize it. Now, let me break down the science of it. It's not like, atoms or spirit or past everything. It comes down to values, right? Comes down to values. Because when you attract someone, see, on a deep level, people look for their opposite or their complementary, even if they don't realize, even if they're not conscious of doing that. So, like the author Ayn Rand, who wrote The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. And she said this in Atlas Shrugged. She said, she had one of the characters rather say, if you want to know what someone's about, I'm paraphrasing, look at who they find attractive. That'll tell you everything about them. And I've actually applied that for over 20 years. And seriously, whenever I look at, if I want to know something, if I want to get an insight into like a man or something, right? Like, for business or anything, I'm trying to get an idea what they find attractive. And that'll tell me everything about them, right? Like I knew this dude, right? Real good guy, white guy, right? But he had got in trouble with drugs and everything, but he was also a rich white guy, right? Now, normally, rich white guys go for, upper scale women, right? But because there was a part of him that had some street in him, and this was a rich white guy, had some street in him. He was comfortable even living in a more street environment, right? Even though his family was rich. But he was a drug dealer. He was a drug user. I don't think he dealt, but he was a drug user and the type who would be in those environments, right? He tended to like those women who would also use drugs. So he liked more the trashy type of woman, So despite his background, he didn't have a problem with like that working class woman or even that trailer park type of woman. Because there's more of a prevalence. The lower you go in social class, there's more of a prevalence of it. But it's a reflection of his inherent values. Not his social thing. His values weren't necessarily reflected by his social class. He took on another set of values. All right. That's what ultimately you're going to attract to you, because somebody is going to see their value in you. Like I get a lot of women complain about dealing with dusty men and dusty brothers, right? And they complain, it's like, whoa, these dusty brothers. And and I've told a few, I've had a few get mad at me, but I'm just being honest with them. if you constantly have dusty men approaching you, that's what you're reflecting, right? You know, I had a woman who was complaining about, now this woman is totally heterosexual, but she constantly had women trying to get at her. And I told her, you know, it might have hurt her feelings a little bit. I said, well, you need to look more feminine. Because that's what they seeing in you. They not seeing some feminine woman who ain't going to deal with another woman. Shoot, they seeing somebody who look like they be down to get down, you know, with a carpet muncher. You know? They look like it. Right? So, and then if you have to think, all right, if I'm attracting this certain type of person, what's up with me? See, the problem is too many people, you know, they attract a certain type and they get mad at the people for being attracted to them. I was just like, that's what you look like. I mean, shoot, I remember another case. I got 1,000 of these cases. This woman's complaining about, she said, all the guys I seem to get are losers while I got my stuff together. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, you don't really look like, you look a little crazy, right? I've known a couple women like that. They wonder why I'm getting these crazy guys, because you look crazy yourself. Shoot, one of my favorite was this woman who had an interesting habit of wearing winter coats in the summer, who dressed like she had no sense of color coordination. Shit, like no style or anything, but she had a fat ass though. And a bad attitude, kept wondering why she got these loser dudes. I was like, you look like one of them. Seriously, that's the thing, because like I say, it's not on a pure physical thing. That's not the whole thing. Because sometimes even what you think about yourself and what you value is reflected in that person. Like if you like, you know, a big, gregarious type of person who, you know, like to eat everything. Shoot, guess what you're going to attract? That type of person. Nah, it's you know, it's the values. It's, you know, it's how you carry yourself. It's the look in your eyes, whether you smile or not. It's everything that goes into your aura, because all your values are going to reflect in even how you look, how you dress, right? If you are part of a religion or something that's conservative, well, that's how you're going to dress. And then you're going to attract that type of person to you. All right? Like I knew there's another case. I've known several church girls and stuff. They heavy into the church. And yeah, they do their own thing. They get down, but they don't necessarily get down with the Pookie and Ray Ray type. All right? Depending. Now, if they came from the hood or something, they will. And I'm going to get into that Pookie and Ray Ray thing, because that argument's still going. But, you know, this one church, several of them, they get that church type of guy. Now, you know, a lot of them prefer that church type of guy who at least looks like a church type of guy, but is an undercover freak. But then they're undercover freak too. Right? And with that Pookie and Ray Ray thing, that's why I've always said, I keep telling guys, it's overrated. Why? A lot of women don't value that. And if you think that's the case, that means you're in an environment where you have a bunch of them. All right? Seriously, everybody will always get the person that reflects. Sometimes, like, there's a lot of guys a lot of men and women who might want something different. And it's like, look, you got to look at your image. All right? You got to look at your image. You got to look at what you're projecting, how you carrying yourself, how you, literally, even down to how you walking. Because you're going to attract that. It's like a lot of brothers who say, you know, they've heard the statement from a black woman. It's like, oh, you look like you mess with white women. Well, you know what? That's the aura you giving off. That's the aura you getting off, like you wouldn't deal with a sister. And it's usually because you dress a certain way and everything. Now, if a black woman values that, right? If she values that, she ain't even gonna say that. She trying to get you. All right? But seriously, just to conclude, trust me, people see, ultimately, despite what people say, they always whoever they choose is going to be a reflection of themselves. Because ultimately, when you think about sex, it's the most selfish ass thing in the world. Seriously, the person at the very least going to at least want someone who reflects what they think of themselves. That's why you might get a situation where some dude is a bum and he ain't worth anything, but he wants the top woman. Because I can guarantee there's some in him that think he's the top man, even if he probably isn't. But that's a reflection of that value. So, anyway, that's all I got for today, y'all. Y'all chop it up in the comments. Peace and blessings.